Hey, and welcome to All Things Social Security. My name is Stephanie Joy of Joy Disability, and you're about to see a piece of what goes on with our Wednesday live Q&A session. It's a live stream on this channel every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It gives you an opportunity to ask questions and have them addressed on the spot on a first come, first served basis. Otherwise, I also want to welcome you to the channel generally. We have our 12 noon newer time frame, that is, shares of video tips and goings on that occur in the midst of any workday on Social Security and SSI matters, as well as beneficiary matters and other things that go on in our workday that we feel often helps claimants who are pro se and or have a representative, but it's just some information they want to get a better grasp on. So we share them here every day, and I welcome you to join us every day at noon. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Tara Lynn. Hi, Tara. 56 years young, self-employed, and now only able to work about 3 hours a day. And this is with breaks every hour. Net earnings around $500 a month. Why does the SSDI application ask if I work over 45 hours? Oh, because when we're self-employed, because we can kind of fudge around with our numbers, they don't just look to what your income is at $500 a month, because that could be net earnings after your business expenses. They look to your hours too, because you could be self-employed, not making that much money, but you're putting in 40 hours a week. And the 45 is because when it's self-employed and because we can arguably fudge a little bit, they need to see that we're really working not substantially. So like 10, 12 hours a week, that kind of thing. So if you're doing a lot more than that, it's not that you can't prevail, but when you talk about, I always kind of suggest people consider when they're doing self-employment work, all the times that you take those breaks, even if you're not taking a calculated break, but it might take you an hour to do something that takes 5 minutes because it's really actually kind of all broken up that you don't think of it that way. Then maybe it is really you only worked 5 minutes in that hour and not the whole hour. But it's something you really have to think about.
Hey there. That was one of our little Q&A clips. I hope you found it informative or helpful or just enjoyable. I am attaching a related video that we have put together a while back that is on a similar topic and or an extension of what we were just talking about. So if you needed some more information on that, that's a place to start. You can also look in our playlists. There is a ton of them. I think there's over 1,000 videos. So there's almost every topic in the world touched upon in some way, shape, or form. And again, as a reminder, you can always put in the comments any kind of question you have, even if it's unrelated to this or any other video. I will talk to you later. Carry on. Let's look at the differing rules that apply to self-employed disabled people collecting Social Security disability and how they're a little bit different than SGA, the limited SGA analysis for a W-2 worker that works for a whole nother company, not them just themselves. So it's a big long section here. Let me just tell you the name of it. It's section 404.1575. It's called Evaluation Guides if you are self-employed. I'm just going to hop down to the section number 2 that says General Rules for Evaluating Your Work Activity if you are self-employed. It says, we will consider your activities and their value to your business to decide whether you have engaged in substantial gainful activity if you are self-employed. We will not consider your income alone because the amount of income you actually receive may depend on a number of different factors, such as capital investment and profit sharing agreements. We will generally consider work that you are forced to stop or reduce below SGA after 6 months or less because of your impairment as an unsuccessful work attempt. And then they refer you to another paragraph. They will evaluate your work activity based on the value of your services to the business, regardless of whether you receive an immediate income for your services. We determine whether you have engaged in substantial gainful activity, SGA, by applying 3 tests. If you have not engaged in SGA under test 1, then we will consider test 2 and test 3. The tests are as follows. Test 1. You have engaged in SGA if you render services that are significant to the operation of the business and receive a substantial income from the business. And the substantial income generally is that SGA number. Test number 2. So if you are not found to be doing substantial gainful activity under test 1, they're still going to check to see if you are otherwise doing it under test 2. It says you have engaged in substantial gainful activity if your work activity in terms of factors such as hours, skills, energy output, efficiency, duties, and responsibilities is comparable to that of of unimpaired individuals in your community who are in the same or similar businesses as their means of livelihood. What that tells me, just as a little aside, guys, is test number 2 is the one that you can better show, I think, and argue that you didn't earn SGA income, but you also didn't engage in activity because maybe you build a widget and it takes you 4 hours and then you sell it, whereas the other people build it in 5 minutes. And so, you know what I mean? They can get so much more, yours takes so much more time. The value of your work per hour is far less. And that's something that I would be arguing. I know it sounds weird when you talk about widgets, but it can really be applied to anything. It could be applied to a lawyer. I mean, writing a brief could take you 3 weeks or it could take you 1 day, you know, and if you can't sit that long and only put in 45 minutes at a time, obviously it's going to take you a lot longer than the person that can plug away for 10 hours and get it done. Test number 3, you have engaged in substantial gainful activity if your work activity, although not comparable to that of unimpaired individuals, like number 2, oops, I just lost my spot. If that activity is clearly worth the amount shown in the charts for SGA when considered in terms of its value to the business or when compared to the salary of that an owner would pay to an employee to do the work you're doing on. That's another good one that can really help, because kind of like number 2, if it takes you 4 hours to do what should take 5 minutes if another person did it, then the value of that work is clearly not the same as an unimpaired individual. And that's what you want to get at. So that's where some of those descriptions are going to be important when you're describing how you do it. There is more to this, guys. They have a different standard for if you've been collecting for less than 24 months or more than 24 months. There's some different things about being a farm landlord, all sorts of different details in here. And I will try to remember to post the link to this particular code section so you can see it, because it is important for self-employed people. Let me just see one more thing too. Of course, can't find it when I need it. All right. I wanted to go into a little bit that 45-hour business we talk about. In a different section lower on, right underneath the 3 tests, they said, what do we mean by significant services? It says, if you are not a farm landlord and you operate a business entirely by yourself, any services that you render are significant to the business. In theory, then, guys, if you're an Uber driver, you're self-employed because you get a 1099. So you are giving significant services to your own business. If your business involves the services of more than one person, we will consider you to be rendering significant services if you contribute more than half the total time required for the management of the business. Now, going back to the Uber driver, what is the management of an Uber driver business? Probably all of like 5 minutes a month. Because literally you just look at the screen and go pick up the person, right? Or you render management services for more than 45 hours a month, regardless of the total management time required by the business. So again, if you are self-employed, you really almost have to describe what you're doing management wise. For a lot of people, it's not going to be much. It's not, if you're managing a store and you're there, you know, a little bit, but then you're doing all the bookkeeping and scheduling and all that at home from your recliner, that could be a lot of management. If you are doing Uber work or there's no management, most of your work is the actual hands-on doing the work that any laborer would do for your business, I would say that's probably not management. Just double checking if there's one more reference to that. Yeah. So just be careful about those self-employed jobs and keeping it kind of explained sufficiently so it's clear that you are not A, doing a lot of management, or B, doing substantial gainful services. You really have to think about the minutes and the hours that you're actually doing the work, not that you're sitting there resting so that you can go back and do another 15 minutes. I wouldn't count that as work time at all. That would be non-work time. And that's how you can really more accurately represent how low your hours really are. All righty. I hope that's clear, guys. I will talk to you later. Bye. Hello again. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was helpful, if not just a little bit informative. In the event you have a Social Security question you want addressed, please feel free to make a comment below and ask the question, even if nothing to do with this particular video. And just a quick, again, reminder, we have our daily video shares and tips around noon every day of the week. And on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have our live Q&A session where you can come in live and enter your questions in the chat. And we all pretty much have a good time for an hour or two. I look forward to seeing you there, hopefully. And lastly, don't forget about our benefactor memberships. They're very reasonably priced. The first one is very nominal and you get a few perks, but on a bigger scale, it contributes to us being able to fulfill a mission of assisting certain people with representation that would otherwise not be able to get it. We look forward to continuing to do that. And so far, it's working out like the bomb. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Bye-bye now.